my age. And you can see that here we have another asterism that after the integer, right? Then again, you can try to print out the value in order to double check. So you have the my age here is the value of that variable. Is that should be 43. And again, you have the memory address of my age, so it should be this one. And finally, you print out the value of PTR that is also the address of my age, right? But because now the PTR is exactly equal contain the value that is the address of the variable my age, right? So we have two things relating to the pointer. So we have the reference and the reference, right? So what is the difference between the reference and the reference? So so if you use the ampersand sign before a variable, so you want to let's say that to create a reference, right? But when you try to use the algorithm operator, right? So it means that you want to the reference operator, okay? So this is example will show you exactly what is saying before. So again, you have the my age is an integer variable, and it's assigned with the value of 43. Then you have PTR is a address uh, that is a pointer and contain the address of my age, right? So if you print the PTR, so this should show this command should show the address of my age, right? So this is called the reference. But if you uh, let's say to print the output with the algorithm before it, and now you put here is a d is mean that the integer. So now the value should be 43. That is the value of my age, right? So this is called the reference. All right. So so you have the asterism side. Uh, so if the asterism come after the data type like integer, all right. So this one should create a pointer variable, right? And when it's not used in the declaration, so it acts like as the reference operator, right? So you have several exercise you can try to practice uh, online with the w3schools.com. All right, so that is the basic knowledge about the pointer. And if the pointers apply to an array, so what happens? Supposing that we have an array, something like this one. So we have 4 elements, right? So this array with the name is my numbers, and all the elements here is in the type of integer. So within the array, so you can do the loop, all right? So for example, if you have I is a running variable, so you can use the for loop, and I will run from 0 until 4. So and increase one value after each iteration, right? So this loop will print out the value of each element in the arrays and line by line. Now, if you want to print, let's say the memory address of each element, right? So now you just include one ampersand sign before the uh, the 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 element of is this array, right? Then you will see the list of the memory address showing line by line instead of the value of the element. So one thing you should remember is that uh, so the last value of the memory address is should be different, right? While the rest is could be the same, right? So the last one is increase four value after each iteration, right? So 0, 4, A, and then a C, because the integer here is typically is 4 bytes, right? So for the character, it could be 1 byte, and for float, it could be 8 bytes, etc. So in order to see to check with the size, you have the size of function. So you can uh, use this one in order to see how many bytes that is consumed in your memory. So with this array, you have four elements. Each element is one integer, so the size should be 16, right? All right, so now talking about the pointers. So we still have this array, right? And this one is that to get the memory address of my numbers array, right? And this one is used to get the address of the first array element. And as you can see that the two value they are exactly the same. So it means that the address of this array is exactly take the address of the first element of this array, right? All right, so you can increase the and decrease the let's say the element within the array in order to get the 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 address or the value. So for example, you have the asterism here, and you have my numbers, right? So this is it for the first value, right? And then you add one value to this one. So it means that you want to take the value for the second element, all right? And this one is for the third element, right? You can even create a loop uh, through the arrays with the pointers, right? And you can also change the value array of the array elements with the pointer. So for example, this one at the you have the first element, all right? Basically, it's equal to 25, but now you want to change it to 13, right? And then the second one, you want to change from 50 to 17, right? Then when you try to print out the result, it will show you. All right, so adding uh, the index number for the pointer is something you may try you may need to know. So here you have P is a pointers and point to numbers and the first value, right? And so when you print, let's say P, this one is the first value, then there's a P plus one is the second, and the third, and the fourth value of this element, right? So you can increase or decrease. For example, here you want to increase the pointer to to your right. All right. So at the beginning, the first value is 10, and then the 20. You want to uh, decrease the value of pointer. So now it come back to 10, and you want to add two more value to your pointer. So now it's 30. All right. So for the pointer subtraction, let's say if you, for example, you have here is an array with the five elements. So you want to define, let's say, the start pointers. Okay, so it points to the second value. So here it's been that it's point to the value of 20. Then the end is the last one, 50. Right. So if you use the end minus uh, start, it's been that it has three elements apart. Right. So you can try with the editor. So it should show you the value of three. Right. So as I mentioned before, an integer pointer is moved by the sign of an integer. So normally it's 4 bytes, and for characters, it should be 1 byte, right? So for example, if the both pointers start as a memory asset, let's say 1000. So when the for the integer, if you shift one position to your right, it should move to the address, let's say, with a difference 4, right? And for the character, it's at only one, 1 byte. So at least before you can use a loop with the pointers, right? And sometimes pointer is used to point to a pointer, right? So let's say we have my number is 10, so this is a variable. Then you have a pointer to an integer. Let's say it's a point to the address of my num. So now you have a pointer to pointer. Now it's point to this one, right? So in three case, when you try to print it out, it's also use a value of 10. So you have the explanation right here, so you can try to read again at home. Okay. So with it's like the pointer. So the pointer to a pointer, it can be changed the address and also it can be changed the value. So it's similar uh, the pointer as talked before. All right, so that is for the pointer. Now we have finished the first part for the fundamental thing relating to the C. All right, so now let's try to jump to the review on the function. All right, so beside the lecture that we provided on the Moodle, so now today you have another tools that you can use as a practice tools by yourself. So with w3schools.com, you can learn how to program in C, and then you can also use it a computer to practice by yourself. So remember that programming is the skill, right? So try to practice it without the support of AI, because the AI will uh, do everything. Then after that, you need to rely on the AI, and 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 and, and your skill in the programming is it is not enough for you for the final exam. So function by definition uh, is a block of code which only run when it's called, right? So you can pass the data, let's say the parameters, to a function, and the function used to perform a certain action, and they are important for reducing code. For example, you have something that repeated all the time, so you need to define a function. Then after that, instead of rewrite the code every time it's called, so now you just call the name of that function and provide new variable to that. So how to declare a function? The first thing you need to do is to predefine the function, right? So using the predefined function, it's very simple because you just include the suitable library, and then on the predefined function that is included on within that library already. So after that, you just use the function without the declaration, right? So for example, with the standard input output library, so let's say stdio.c, so you have the printf function, right? With and in this example, the main also a function, right? So if you don't have, let's say, the predefined function that is suitable for your job or your task, so in that case, you need to create a function. So the syntax is very simple. Uh, so to declare a new function, you can try to do something like this one. The first thing is a function type, all right? For example, the void it means that the function does not it doesn't return any value, right? And this is the name of the function. And within this parenthesis, so you can include several uh, variable that is needed to include in this function, right? Then within the function body, you have the code to be executed. Once you declare a function already, so now you can call that function again. So you know that the name of the function is a my function, right? So if you define my function here, right? Then within the main, you can call it again, all right? So this my function is a void function, so it returns nothing. But within that function, you have the printf uh, to print out a message, all right? So let's say the message here is I just got executed, all right? So now in main, when you run it, so the output should be I just got executed, all right? So as you can see right here. All right. So uh, one of advantage by using a function is that it can be called multiple times. So you define this my function, then you can call it as many times as you want, right? So anytime you write this command, so it will show you a message. Another example, so a simple example, so you can use a function, to do some calculation, right? So for example, here is a calculate the sum of numbers. So basically, this one is a void function, so it returns nothing, and you don't want to include any input variable. So you want to define the variable locally within the function. So for example, with this function, you have x and y, and sum they all in the type of integer, and x is assigned with the value of 5, and y is 10. So the sum should be 15, all right? And this function will prompt out a message, the sum of x plus y is, and this is the value. So this should be 15, all right? So this is the output, expected output. So you have several exercise on this tutorial, so you can try it at home. So far you have the function without any parameters. So now you want to define a function, and then you can provide the parameters when you want to run it. So here is the syntax. So at the beginning, you have the return type, right? So instead of void without any return value, so now you can provide a type here, for example, integer or character, etc. Okay. Then you have the function name, you have a parameter one, parameter two, parameter three, and you have the code to be executed here. So for example, again, so if you don't want to provide anything, so you use a void, right? So my function is a name of the function, and within that you want to provide the parameter with the name is an name, and this parameter is in the type of a character, all right? So this is a string of a character. So you can use something like this one, and then in the main functions, so you can call the function again, and you provide the string like this one, all right? Then the function will run the print command, and it will say hello and with the name, so you can see the expected results here. And with the multiple value, with multiple parameters, so you can include the same. For example, here's a name in the type of characters, age in the type of integer, all right? So you can print hello with the name, and you are how many years old? Okay, so you put the age here. And in the main function, you call again that function name and provided exactly the same uh, numbers of parameter that you want to provide it to the function, right? And then the expected result is something like this one. And for example, if you want to uh, do again the example for calculating the sum of numbers, right? And with the parameters that you provided by yourself, so you can define x and y as integer as a input parameters here, all right? And within the function, you just perform the calculation. So the sum is equal to x plus y, then you can print out the result, all right? Then in the main, when you call the function, you just provide the two parameters right here. And then it will show you the final result. Right, so as you can see right here. So you can also include an arrays into the function through the parameters. For example, here, so you have this parameter is an array containing five integer numbers, right? Then with the array, you can use the for loop to print out the value of this array, right? Then in the main, you can so uh, declare an array, my numbers, with the five element like this one, right? And then in the my function, you should include the my numbers here as a parameter, right? So it will, so the loop will print out the value of all the elements within this array. All right, so uh, that is for the function with any return values, all right? So now, what about the function with the return value? So instead of using the void, all right, so now you can define it with the data type for the return value. So here you have the integer data type for your return value. So the name of the function is still my function, and you have one input parameter is as an integer. Within that, you want to return the sum of 5 plus x, right? In the main function, now you have the result, and then so you use the print command, and you put the function within the printf command. So you call the my function, and you provide the value of x is a 3, right? So it should be 5 plus 3, and the result should be 8. The same one, but now you want to include two parameters within this function. So you have x and y, then you want to return x plus y, right? So again, my function, you provide 5 and 3 as mean that x will be assigned with the value of 5 and y will be assigned with the value of 3. Finally, you have the output still a. And you can also store the result in a variable, all right? So now the same function as before, but now you have the result here and declare as an integer, and the result is equal to the function with the value of 5 and 3. It means that the result now will take the value of the return, right? So the result should have the value of 8. Now it's assigned with the value of 8. So with this kind of declaration, you can within the function, you just use a return, and you write the operators directly to the return value, right? So it means that you say several lines in the code, and for the main, you can perform that function as many times as you want. All right, so still again about the uh, function. So what about if you want to try with the array? So if you have an array and you want to store the return value into this array, so you can also perform something like this one, right? So in real life, for example, so this one I provided to you during the lecture already. Uh, so you want to convert uh, the value of temperature from Fahrenheit to Celsius. So you can define two Celsius function, and with the return is a float. The input is a Fahrenheit value and also is a plot. So in your return, so you have the formula in order to convert from Fahrenheit to the Celsius, right? Then in the main function, so supposing that you have the, let's say the Fahrenheit value is 98.8 uh, Fahrenheit, all right? Then you can use the T Celsius and include the value of Fahrenheit temperature here and store it in the result. Finally, you can prompt out the result, and your temperature is converted from Fahrenheit to the Celsius. Basically, in real time, if you try to work with some electronic like Arduino or ESP32, so supposing that you have a sensor, and the sensor is taking the value from the environment and it's stored in the a variable like this one, right? Then you can convert it, for example, to from the uh, electricity type to any kind of operator system that you want to show. So maybe in your home or in the lab or in the class, you may see several kind of thermostat display, right? And you have a button on that thermostat, and when you hit the button, so it can change between the Celsius and the Fahrenheit in uh, displaying the temperature. Okay, so several exercise you can try to work with that. For example, this one. So you have my function is a function, and you have a list. You have a string, all right? Now, uh, within this function, that is print hello and the string, right? In the main, so my function is Jenny, all right? And so what is the output of this one? So apparently it should be hello Jenny because you have hello here, and the name you put here is Jenny, right? And you still have several uh, exercise for you to practice, right? For example, with this one, add a name parameter of type characters. Let's say it's a string to my function. So this should be character, and should be a name because you call the name right here. All right. Okay. Okay. So now you understand how functions work, and we have a kind of the variable scope, right? So you have the local variable. So this variable is not only available within the function when it's called, right? So when the function is finished, so this variable should be disappear, right? So this is a local variable. So a local variable cannot be used outside the function because when the function is that complete, all right? So this variable is deleted from the memories. So this is an error. So many people face up. So you have the x here is that declared within my function, right? So outside that function, you want to call again the x, so it cannot be run because the program will what is x, right? It will say that x is not declared. And you have the global variable, right? Global variable is that you want to declare a variable so outside the main and outside any function, right? So it means that the x here can be used within the function or within the main function. So with it can be used in any function, right? So for the variable, you can pay attention to the naming because it's really easy to confuse everyone when they are trying to read the code. All right. So for example, here you have a global variable with the name as x, and within the my function, so you have a local variable with the name is x, right? So within my function, when you try to print x, so it will refer to a local variable. So it should be 22. But in the main, so it doesn't know what is a local variable here. So it just show you the global variable. So it should be fine, right? So this could be, it just could confuse your script when you try to read it again. So you will not easy to recognize which one is a local and which one is a global. So in order to avoid this thing, you should rename the variable differently between the local variable and global variable. So one useful example is that instead of declaring another global local variable that is x equal to 22, so now you can uh, without the declaration you can use directly the global variable, but add let's say 17 to the current global variable, right? So 5 plus 17 should be equal to 22, right? So in this case, you don't need to declare again the parameter of x. So for example, here you have the global variable x is equal to 5 already. So within my function, you just add another value to x, all right? So increase the value of x by 1, all right? And still here, you print the global variable of x, right? So at this moment, so the global variable of x is increased one value, so it equal to 6 instead of 5, right? So because within this my function, you increase one value to x. So in order to use, if you want to use the local variables, all right? So you need to have a good name for that local variables, all right? Good variable names as much as you can. This will so because the local variable is that only appear when you call the function and when without the call of the function, so uh, the variable will be deleted. All right. So we come back to the function declaration and definition. So traditionally, if you want to create a function, you declare and define a function at the beginning of the script. All right. So you have my function, uh, and within my function you have a command that is printf and a message. And in the main function, you just call again that function, and on the command within that function will be performed. All right. So basically, a function consists two parts. The first one is declaration, and the second one is definition. Right. So in several cases, you can let's say separate it into two two parts. So you can declare the function first, and then you provide the definition later, right? For example, in here, you declare a function at the beginning of the script, but without any command within it. It's just to define this function, right? Then you define the command later, all right? So it's still functioning, all right? All right. So in the this one I mentioned is with another name. Let me try to find again. Before, because in a C programming, the function must be declared before it's invoked, right? So, for example, with this example, you define you declare the name first, all right? Then you call the function within the main, and then you declare the function later. So this one could help you to have a really good looking C programming because you jump directly to the main function with the few declaration of the function, right? Then all the function definition you can include it later on. All right. So in the slide, I call this one is a prototype, right? This is a function prototype. So you put a prototype before it, right? And then you declare the full function later, all right? So for the parameters within the function, for example, here you have my function with the x and y as the input parameter, and they're all in the integer, right? Then you can call the my function again with the, for example, 5 and 3, right? So the output is 8. So this is the way we put the parameters into the function. So this one we just discussed previously. And for the function declaration in the prototype type, so you can also provide uh, the input parameter here, right? And then you can define the full function later on. And with the function, you can use the function to call other function, right? For example, you have my function, have my other function, right? Then in the main, you just call the my function. So this is for the prototype and the main function. Now, the rest of the script, you try to define a full function for the two prototype here. For my function, right? So within my function, you just try to print a message, and then you call another function. All right. Then another function, you just print another message. All right. So it means that when you call this one, the the two function will be called already. Right. This message will be print first, and then this message will be print later, because this one it come before this function. Right. So you can try with the compiler. So this is your result. Okay. So you have several exercise you can try it at home. One important thing is that you can using the math uh, in C. So in order to use the mathematic function, you need to include the math dot h. So this is the library, the header file for the math function, right? So if you want to calculate the square root of a value, so you can use the sqrt function, right? So the square root of 16 should be 4. You have your round number. For example, you can use a C here in a to round number upward, right? So and you can use the floor, all right? So in order to round a number downward, right? So for example, with this one, you use a C 1.4. It means that it will provide you the value of let's say 2, and this one should be 1, right? 2 and 1. And you can use the power function in order to calculate the power of let's say x to the power of y. All right. So 4 to the power of 3, it should be uh 64, I think. Okay, 64. And there are several other exercise right here. For the inline, so you you have the two thing is quite similar, but it's different, right? So in here you have integer square of and you have one input parameter as an integer, then you return the square of that value, right? For the inline function, you include the inline words before it. Okay, so this is the only thing different between the two kind of function. So it's explained that the only difference is that the inline version success. to the computer to copy the function code directly where it's used. So so it means that they're all similar, but just have a few different in the system. So for example, here you have the add uh, function, all right? Then you can call the add again. It's like any other function, right? So the difference is that instead of using the add 5 and 3 here, right? So the computer will replace 5 plus 3 directly to here, all right? So with the regular function, the computer still put here as a function add 5 and 3. But with the inline function, so the computer will put directly the a plus b right here. Okay. So here is a comparison between the regular function and the inline function for your reference, right? There's one kind of function that confuse so many students. That is a recursion function. So this one as a definition, this is a technique to making a function called itself, right? So when you want to repeatedly call that function again and again and again, so you need to use a recursion function. So we have another example first. So here you have a prototype uh, of the sum function, all right? So the sum function with the input parameter is a k, and if the k is greater than 0, so it will return k plus some k minus 1, right? And else it should return true. So in the main, you just call again the sum function with the number 10. It means that the result is means that 10 plus 9, and expected result should be 19. Oh, sorry. Sorry. So it's called again the sum of a k minus 1. It means that now it will do the calculation. So 10 plus 9 plus a plus 7 until 1, because until the k is mid 1. Then this is sum of the story. It should be 55, because I forgot to say that it's called again uh, itself here, right? Because the function is defined with a name, and then it call itself until it meets a criteria, right? So here is the explanation, right? So when the sum function is called, right? So it adds the parameter k to the sum of all numbers smaller than k and return the result, right? When k it become 0, right? So the function just return 0, right? So uh, we have several steps as here. At the beginning, k is 10, right? So the function will return k plus sum of k minus 1. It means that k plus sum of 9, right? Sum here is called again this function. But sum of 9 is equal to 9 plus sum of A, and sum of A is equal to A plus sum of 7. Sum of 7 is equal to the 7 plus sum of 6. By the end, you have a list of this thing, all right? So the sum of 0 is equal to 0, and it stop it quit the function, all right? So another example is that you use the recursion to count down from 5, right? So if n is greater than 0, so it's just call again this function. So count out at the beginning is n, now it's called again count out n minus 1. And every anytime it calls, so it print out the value of n. Finally, we have to find until 0, until 1, all right? This example I provided already in the slide. Calculate the factorial with the recursion. So, at the beginning, you have a prototype is a function with the name is factorial and the parameter is n. Then in the main, you just call again the factorial, for example, of 5. And the this function is very simple. You, declare again the name of the function, and then if n is greater than 1, you can return n multiplied by factorial n minus 1. So it calls this function itself. And if n is lower than 1, so it return 1. All right. So by the end, this is a factorial of 5. It means that 5 multiplied by 4, multiplied by 3, multiplied by 2, multiplied by 1. And so this should be 120. Okay. So uh, with the function, we also have the function pointer. A function pointer is like a normal pointer, but so instead of pointing to a variable, it's pointing to a function. Okay. So for declaring a function pointer, you can use this syntax. You have your return type. You have a pointer name. This also, let's say, the name of the function with the algorithm before it. Within this function, you have parameter type 1, parameter type 2, etc. Right? For example, you have an integer, so you have a PTR with a algorithm before it, and you have the type 1 and type 2. They're all in the integer. All right? So for explanation, this means PTR is pointer to a function that takes two integer values and return as an integer. Then when you have a pointer already, so you can assign a function to a pointer, right? So for example, PTR is equal to add. Add, this is a function that we discussed before, the add function. Or you can use PTR equal to ampersand add, right? They're all the same. Then you can call a function through a pointer, right? So now the function is assigned with the add function, right? So now you can use PTR 5 and 3, so it should be 5 plus 3, and the value is 8, right? And the two command here, they do the same thing. All right, so come back again. We have the add function here, right? And it will return A plus B. In the main, you can declare, for example, uh, the the pointer PTR, all right, with the two integer parameter, input parameter, and it's assigned by the add function. All right. Then you can call the result is a PTR and a 5 and 3. So it should be return the value of A because the add is A plus B and you have 5 plus 3, right? So your result should be 8. So passing a function as an argument, this is also called the callback. For example, you have two function great morning and great evening, all right? So within the great morning, you have a command send out a message good morning, and for the great evening, you have a message good evening, all right? Then you create another function with the name is the right, and within that you call another function using the algorithm, all right? And this function is called with the type the void, right? Right, and within that you just call again the function. So in the main, you can use the greet, so this one, and you put another function here, so great morning, then great and great evening, right? So you can put the two other function here into the greet function, right? Because you declare here it's called a function with algorithm before the name, right? And a function also used with the function pointer array, right? So you have the add function, right? So this one is just print the add as a message. You have the subtract function that print the subtract, multiply just print out the multiply message, right? So this is for example, and within the main function, you declare let's say this is a void algorithm. So you have the operation with the three element within this array, all right? And within the parentheses here, so now then you have three elements. It's add, subtract, and multiply. So you add three function here into one function, one pointer array, all right? So this pointer array have three elements, and now it's contain the uh, it's contain three function, as you can see here, right? Then you can use a loop within the pointer array. So you have three element here, so you can run I from 0 until 3, and you can perform uh, each function after each iteration, right? Easily. So this is really good way to contain to store the function all the function into in a single pointer array. All right, we have another example. This is a calculator, right? So instead of just provide a message, so now it's perform the calculation, right? So the add we have a plus b, subtract we have a minus b, and multiply we have a multiplied by b. Okay, and in the main, so three parameters as a integer. You have choice, you have x, and you have y. All right. So x is assigned with the value of 10, and y is assigned with the value of 5. Now, you create an array of function pointers like this one. So have operators again with the three elements, right? And here is the variable, the parameters to include into every uh, function, and they own as integer and integer, right? So now do you provide the name of three function here, add, subtract, and multiply, right? So with the choice here, you can use the scanf in order to provide the parameter from your keyboard, all right? Choice could be run from 0 until 2. So you have the condition here. Let's say the choice, it could be equal to from to 0, 1, and 2, right? And if the choice is like that, so you can use operations. And with the choice here and the x and y that is declared before, right? So you can, for example, if you want to do the add, all right, so you can type here the number 0 and press enter. So your result should be 15, all right? And then if you want to do the subtract, you can type 1 and multiply it by 2, okay? So here you have a table to compare uh, the function pointer and with the normal function, right? So the normal function is called directly by its name, while the function pointer is called using a pointer, right? And the normal function is decided before your program runs. But for the pointer, you can choose which function to call while the program is running, all right? But as you can see that the normal function is really easy to follow, while the function pointer is need a little bit high level uh, in order to know what it is. So we have the callback functions, all right? So the callback function is a function that is passed as an argument to another function, all right? So we can jump directly to the example. For example, you have the say hello as a function. Then you have the run callback, and within that uh, you call you have the input parameter. It's another callback, all right? So it's like before. So within the main, you run your run callback and you put your say hello function here. Okay. So it's like when you try to call another function within a function. So this one with parameter, and you can call it as many times as you want. All right. So with the great morning and great evening. Okay. Okay, so that is all for the function. To the whole class, did you have any question or comment regarding to the function? You can ask right now. Any question? So if there is no question, so I suggest that we should have a short break about 15 minutes. All right, so we come back to the class. Now we move to another thing with the input and output. Let's say we try to work with the file, right? So in C, you can create, open, read, and write to files by declaring pointers. So in the previous lecture slide, I provided to you some very basic knowledge and also a lot of example. So you can do, for example, you can declare by the file, and you can use asterism and a pointer, right? Then you use the app open uh, in order to to open the file with the file name, and also it include the path to the folder path name and the mode that you want to use to open the file. So for the file name, it's it should be an actual file. For example, the file name .txt or uh, data or etc. But it has to have the file name and also have the extension. For the mode, that is a single character, so it could be a W. So let's say you want to write to the file. A if you want to append a new data to your file, or R if you want to read from the file. All right. In order to create a file, you need to use the parameter W, all right, inside the app open. So your W port is used to write a file, but if the file is not exist, so it will create one for you. All right. So this is for example. All right. So at the beginning, you use a file and with a pointer here, then apptr is equal to app open. So you have the file name. Supposing that you already access to that folder already, all right? And the you have the mode is a W. Then the file name .txt is created in the same folder with the C programming file. Sometimes if you are standing in another folder, so you want to point directly to that file uh, from another folder, you can try to write the full path to the file right here. All right. And after working with that file already, so you need to use the app close in order to close the file in order to save the memory, right? So in order to write the file, the attribute, the mode W is used for writing, right? In order to write something into the file, you can use the f printf. So remember, this one is different than the printf that you're working when you're using the standard input output library. So working with the file, you put an f character before it. So since you had the pointer here already, and this one is equal uh, to the app open, to open the file with the mode is a W. So now you can use the app printf and write the pointer again here and something right here, all right? And as I mentioned, so after finish the work, you need to close the file in order to save the memory. And by the end, you try to open the, for example, the file name .txt with a notepad. You can see the content is written there already. And if the file is already exists, so when you try to use the app printf to write something into that file, so it will replace, right? It will replace all the data. That it will erase everything, every existing content before writing a new one. All right. So if you want to still keep the previous content in the file, but uh, and uh, and just include new content after it, so you can use append mode with the letter A. So again, with the file name, but now you instead of using the W, so you provide here is a A. And supposing that the file have the sentence of hello world before, so now you want to write hi everybody, then the hi everybody will append just below the hello world, as you can see right here. And if the file is not existed, so the append mode also will create a new file for you. And for reading of files, so you can try to use the mode R. Oh, so again with the file name, all right. So this means this file is open just only for reading, so without any writing or appending new content to the file. So in order to read the content from the file name.txt, so you can use the appget function, all right? So for example, you can predefine uh, a string before, for example, this string it contain 100 uh, character in it. Then you can use that string in order to scan the file, right? So the you can try to read the explanation here. The first parameter specify where to store the file content, right? So here we have the my string. This is the array to contain all the content that we want to assign to. And this one is a maximum size of data to read, all right? And this one should be matched with the my string data. And the third one is a pointer, all right? So this is the the it points to the file that you want to read the data. But the app-get function is only read the first line of the file. So in order to let the app-get to read all the data of the file, you need to use a loop, right? So for example, here you have the while loop and use the app-get here, and uh, and you can also print every string in the file, right? And sometimes you try to open the file, but the file is not accepted already. So the app open will return the null value. All right. So in order to avoid any error by for the missing file, so you can use a condition. So if the this pointer is equal to a null, so you can perform a message. For example, not able to open the file. Then if the file is exists, so it's your code should read the content, and you may need to print it, uh, or if the file is missing, so it's also from another message. So this is a file script for working for reading data from a file. So this condition is showing you that if the file is not null, so you scan all the content in the file, right? And if the file is does not exist, So if the file is not accepted, you can print out not able to open the file. Okay, so that is for the file. Now we move to another thing. It's quite complex. That is called the structure. So structure is a good way to group several related variables into one place, right? And each variable in the struct is known as a member of the structure. It's different than the array. So the structure can contain many different data types in the same struct. In order to create to declare a structure, so you can use the struct keyword at the beginning, and then you provide a name for your structure. For example, here is the struct, and the name is structure. All right, and within this structure, you have several parameter variable like my num and my letter, and my num here is a type of integer, and my letter is in the type of character. And my name and my letters is they are all members of my struct. Once you declare a structure already, all right. So in the main, you can define a variable with the name uh, with the type of struct, and the name is for example s1 in this example. All right. So now s1 will contain the uh, parameter that following the structure of my structure, right? So you can define many structure right here. For example, my struct one, my structure two, etc. And your variable is followed to the structure with the name of that structure. All right. So you declare the structure already. You declare a variable following the structure already. Now, if you want to accept the structure member, all right. So in the main function, so you can write the name of that variable and with the extension, all right? It's exactly the name of the member within that structure, right? So, for example, s1 dot minum is mean that you want to assign the value. For example, here is a 13 to the minum of the structure one under the variable of s1, right? And the same thing for the letter b to my letter of the my structure under the variable s1. And if you want to call out a value, so you can call again with the name of variable at the beginning and the name of the member after a dot. And with the structure, it's not only for you to create only one variable, but you can create as many variable as you want, right? So for example, um, you can try to generate a list of students in your class, for example, with the 300 students in your class. So each student could be a structure. And with with the student that you have several variable like A's, like the student ID, like student name, etc. Right? And for the structure, you also have the nested structure, like in the loop, you have the nested loop, and in structure you have the nested structure. Example you have here is a owner. It's an type of a struct. With this owner, you have first name, you have the last name, right? Then you have another struct with the name car, right? And the car has the brand and the year of production, and also you have the struct owner and owner. So this is the owner of the car, right? and this is an asset structure, right? Because the owner here is a variable, uh, a struct variable for the owner struct, right? And in the main function, you can define, let's say, the owner first with the person is a Zondo, for example. And then for the car one, so you have Toyota 2010, and then you put the person right here. All right. So then in the structure of the car one, you have the name of the car is a Toyota, the year is a 2010, and and the owner is the person that you provide before is a Zondo. All right. So the pointers also can be used with the structure. So to use a pointer to a structure, you can add the asterism symbol before, like you do with other kind of data. To set to its member, you must use uh, the arrow side. Uh, so this operator instead of the dot. Normally with the command struct, you use a dot and then the name of the member. But now if you want to access to this member and uh, with the pointer, so you need to use this symbol, right? For example, you define a struct of car. So the car had the brand name and the production year. Then in the main, you can create a new variable. For example, the car here is a struct of car with the name of Toyota and 2020 is a production year. Then you can define a struct. So struct car and you have an asterism here with the name is a PTR and point directly to the car. If you want to access your member of the car using the pointer here, all right, so you can use let's say the PTR and this symbol and with the name of the member, brand and year. You can pass a struct pointer to a function and you can also change its value. For example, again, you have a car like this one, right? So with the brand and year, so you can write another function, for example, update year, and the input parameter here is a struct of car, right? And then in this one, so uh, that struct you access to the member year and change it, assign it with a new value, for example, 20 and 25. So that is a function in order to take a pointer to a car struct and update the year within that structure. And in the main function, so you define a new uh, variable for the car struct with the Toyota, its name, its year, is a 2020. Then you can use update year function, and you just add my car into here. So then the member year is automatically changed to 20 and 25. So here are several benefits of using struct pointers. All right. So the first thing and the most benefits one is that you want to avoid copying a large amounts of data, right? So instead of doing that, you just pass a pointer and then you can access to uh, any member that you want. So this one is also make the program faster and use less memory. And you also can want to change the value inside a function using a pointer, or you want to create a struct that is dynamically using memory allocation, right? So with the pointer, you can use a malloc function to create a struct with the when the while the program is still running. Right. So for the union, this one I think is a little bit outside of our scope, so I just skip it. And this one you can try to read at home. And there's another important thing is that the type def. So the type def keywords is let you to create a new name of an existing type. All right. So for example, if you have a quite complex declaration, right? So you want to shorten that declaration, so you can use a type def. For example, here you have a type def plot temperature, right? Then after that, when you try to declare the other variable relating to this temperature, so you can use the temperature again, and for today, for tomorrow, etc. Right? So the type def will help you to simplify the code, and it also improve the clarity, right? And the type def, it's normally it's used with a structure because the structure is quite complex and it's quite long. So if you use a type def for the structure, then you can declare again the variable easily, and it's much more shorter than usual. So this one is an example for the comparison between the type def and without type def, right? So without type def, you as usual you can define using the struct keyword and the name of the car, and you have the two member inside it. And with type def, you include type def before it, right? And then you put your name after it in the main function. Okay, so uh, for the normal case without the title, you need to provide the struct before, all right? Then the car is the name of the struct, and the car one is a variable uh, of that struct. And with the type is shorter, you don't want to use the struct again. You just call again the car, all right? And then the car two, for example. So, for example, again, you have the type struct and of the car, and you have the brand, you have the model, and you have the year. In the main, you have the car of car one, car two, car of car three. So you can see that the your code is much more simplified and it's really easy to follow. And also with the nested struct. So when you use that, it also helps you to simplify the code so well. So again, you have the type of the owner. The owner has the first name and last name. Then you have the type for the car. So the car has a brand name, a year, and also includes the owner, right? So now here you just have the owner and the owner name. Another type struct is a dealership, right? So you have the name and you have the uh, future car. And this one is uh, belong to the struct of car. in the main function. So you have the owner person, for example, Zondo. You have the car one is a kind the structure of car is a Toyota 2010, and the owner is a person that you just declared before. And then you have the dealership. The is you can include the name of the city motors and then the name of the car one that uh, the struct that you just declared here. All right. For the struct alignment and padding, right? So uh, it's like when you write the program, you always need to have the indent, right? You declare you have a declare lines, and then everything within that you should have at least one indent in order to distinguish between the members and the declaration. Also for the name and everything else. Uh, so in the term of storing the data in the memories, so you have the character normally is consume 1 byte, and the integer is consumed 4 byte, and a float and other it could consume more and more uh, bytes, right? So then if you declare the a struct like this one, so you have 1, 4, and 1, at least one struct like this one, it can consume 6 bytes, all right? And in the C programming, normally you have this one is 6 byte, but it's usually print 12 bytes because of the padding byte, all right? Okay, so this one is belongs to the memory, so maybe it's an extra uh, thing. Maybe you so I will skip it and you can read it again later. All right. Then you have another type. It's called an enum, that is inside of the enum reason. So this one is a special type that represents a group of constant, right? So a constant is mean that it cannot be changed. So in order to create an enum, so you can use the enum keyword. For example, here is a level. So the level we have low, medium, and high, right? So that is the name of the member of this enum. And then in order to access the enum, you can create a value for it, right? So the value for the enum you can create it within the main uh, function. So you have, for example, if you have the enum of a level before, you can create the enum level and a myvar, all right? Then the member of this enum myvar you can declare later. So, for example, you can declare the value for the myvar is a medium, let's say. So, in C programming by default, the first item had the value of 0, and the second had the value of 1, right? Then when you want to print this variable, so it will show the output is 1. And it means that will show you the value of medium. So with the W preschool, so you can try with it computer. All right, so it will show you the value of one. And for example, here you can change it to high. So the value should be two. If you want to change the value, all right. So uh, you can provide, you can assign a value to every members of this enum. For example, low is 25, medium is 50, and high is 75, right? Then when you try to print my var, so the output for my var, this one is let's say the medium, it should be equal to 50, right? And something in the enum is that if you define the first value already, and the second and the third value, you just leave it blank, so it automatically assign the value to them by adding one value, right? It like by default the first one is zero, then one and two, so now it's five, so the medium should be six and high should be seven. And the enum can be used in a switch statement, right? So for example, you have the enum level is low, medium, and high. So now it's a one, two, and three. Then in the main, you define the myvar as an enum and it's equal to medium, right? Then you can use a switch case using myvar, and each case one is a low level, case two is a medium level, and case three is a high level, right? So at the beginning, we say that the low is one, so it means that medium is two and high is three. And you declare here my var is medium, so the return should be medium level. So it should be a medium level. And the enum can be used with the typedef, right? So you can use the typedef with the enum, to make it shorter. So for example, without the typedef, you can create a new enum for the day is from Monday until Sunday, right? And you can declare a value of today is a Wednesday. And with typedef, so you can put the typedef before the enum, right? And then now you can write day of today is a Wednesday. So it says that with the typedef version, it's shorter and also it's easier to read. Here's an example for the for the example before you had the typedef here, the enum from Monday until Sunday, and the typedef name is a day, right? Then in the main, so you have the date of today is Wednesday, and then you can perform other commands. You have several exercises that you can try to work with that on W3 score. So there are several other things that I think is outside of this course. So maybe you can try to read it at home. For example, working with the memory. All right. So you can use a size up command in order uh, to get the size of every variable. So for example, integer is 4 bytes, float is 4 bytes, double is 8 bytes, and the character is only 1 byte. And in order to allocate memories, so for example, you can use a malloc command, right? So with the dynamic memory, so you can use a malloc and in the size in order to predefine this pointer, all right? It means that even with the pointer, it's not have the value yet, but you just take already the space in the memory for uh, for that uh, for that variable before it's assigned. And you can also use a color, right, for the amount and size. So the malloc function has only one parameter, that is the size, right? And the color have the two parameters. We have the amount, that is the amount of item to allocate, and the size is the same with the malloc, so it's the size. So the malloc is only for one uh, parameter, and the color is used for many parameters. So this one is basically the same. Malloc is only for one parameter, but calloc here you declare with only one parameter. So basically, this is the same. If you want to provide more parameters, so you can change this number. All right. So for example, you have a pointer is a student, and the number of students is 12. All right. So then you can use the calloc with the 12 parameters and the size of this student. All right, so this one is for accessing the memory. And this one is for the reallocate memory. So, so this is for the extra thing. So maybe I will skip it. All right. And so uh, the structure and dynamic memories, it can be used together. Right. For example, you have the structure of your car with the brand and a year within this one. So in the main, you can use a pointer, right, to point to the stroke of car, and using the malloc in order to uh, to generate a dynamic allocation of the memory, right, with the size of the stroke car. And then you can provide the parameter to that later. Here is an example for the memory. So this one, I think you can try to read at home. So now we turn to the error. Sometimes you work with the programming, uh, but yeah, uh, it's very common to face with the errors, right? So uh, one thing for you to deal with the error is that to try to read the message from the computer in order to determine which kind of error that you are facing up, and try to find a solution, right? So the most common compile errors is about the missing a semicolon by the end. All right. So by default, all the syntax on the command should have a semicolon after uh, after it. But with this example, for example, you have the integer. You declare a variable x as an integer and assign the value of pi to it, but you forgot to use a semicolon by the end, right? So the compiler will show you an error, and it will say that expected a colon, a comma, or semicolon before the print f. So print f here, all right? And before it means that the line before it. Okay. So by reading this one, so you need you you will know that okay. So the program is saying that you are lacking of a one comma or a semicolon, and also you have the location before the printf, right? And then you quickly check again with your script to see where is the printf, right? Before it. So then you check before it and to see if you have forgot to put a comma or semicolon or not. All right, so this is for the missing a semicolon. The second very common uh, error is that you're using an undeclared variables. All right. So for example, in the main function, you want to print the value of my var, but my var is never declared anywhere with this within this program, right? So the computer will show you the error. It will say that the error my var undeclared. So when you face with this error, so you need to check again if the my var is declared or not. If not, so you need to declare again, right? The third very common errors is the mismatch type, right? For example, you assigning a string but you can't is as an integer, for example, right? So for example, here x is you want to assign the string hello to the x, but x is declared as an integer, so it will perform an error, right? So the error with the compiler will say you that is an error initiation. Initiate initialization makes integer from pointer without a cast, right? So this one means that this one is wrong. You cannot assign a string into an integer variable. Right, so that is the most common error. So now it's a list of common errors. So other errors that you may face a lot during programming. So why when you are doing math, sometimes you accidentally uh, perform an operation that is divided to a zero, right? So for example, x is 10 and y is 0. And if x is divided by y and y is 0, so it will show you an error, right? It will show you an error. And the second one is accessing out of bounds array elements, right? So for example, you have an array that only have 3 elements, but you want to access the element that outside of this rank, right? So it also uh, tell you the message is accessing out of bounds array elements using free memory, right? So some value it just saved in the memory and then it's just freed because it complete the task, all right? For example, you use a free command here in order to free the the memory for the pointer PTR, but now you call again, right? So it will perform to you method that undefined behavior, accessing memory that were freed. All right. So with these three common runtime errors, so uh, the thing is that you need to read what is a message from the compiler. For example, it say not possible, it say element is doesn't do not exist, or undefined behavior, etc. So this is some advice, good habits to avoid errors, right? So the first thing is always initialize the variables, right? Use the meaningful variable names in order to distinguish between the variable easily. Keep your code clean and use indentation to stay organized. Uh, Keep function short and focused. Check if the loops or conditions are running as expected. Uh, and try to read the error message carefully. They often tell you exactly where the problem is. Right? So, for example, here, right, drag and drop correct symbol to fit the missing semicolon compare to error. For example, here x is equal to 5, but missing up one semicolon. So you need to perform here. Okay. So talking about your debugging, debugging is a process of finding and fixing error in the program. And so uh, when you try to write a C script, try to write it as clear as you as much as possible. All right, because it's not always uh, you to reread the file again, but there is an opportunity for other person to try to understand what you are writing in the script. All right, but if your script is not so clear when it's faced with error, so that person cannot uh, find the error easily. So try to provide the indent and try to write the command anytime you write something. All right. So the easiest uh, way to do the debugging is to use the printf, right? So this one is to print the value as a different points in the code in order to check if the code is still working, right? For example, if you have two variable like this one, and you want uh, to do the calculation, all right? So you can use a printf with the two method before division and after division in order to raise a flag, all right? And then the program is just crashed because of the zero division by zero, right? So by finding the message again, so you need to know you will know where is the error, all right? So if you don't see after division, it means that the program is crashed as this one. The second thing is that you need to check the variable values, right? So in order to check the value, you need to print the variable to see if they are what you expected, right? So for example, you have x is 10 and y is 5, and you have the result is x minus y. So the expected result is should be 5, all right? So sometimes if you print and your result is not what you expected, so it means that you you you, you made a mistake somewhere, right? For example, that is if you expected the result is 15, right? So it means that this should be the add operators. And in if you are using your Visual Studio Code, right? So it always have the debugging system, to find the breakpoints in your script, and then you can easily uh, to check if your program is working or not. But the tips is that start with the printf debugging anytime you write something new, right? So you write a new function, you need to provide a printf within that function in order to debug, and after finish the program already, so you can comment on the print function and learn from your error messages. So the C compiler and runtime errors often tell you what went wrong and where, right? So here, for example, expected a semicolon before print. So this one is the location before the print. And the kind of errors is a syntax error. So because you forgot to provide a semicolon before this lines of command. And so some bugs like dividing by zero, it's it causes the crash for the program. So sometimes you know that it could be a division uh, uh, with a zero, right? Because for example, in an array, so there are always opportunities for an element to become zero. Let's or let's say you want to read the data from a logs file, all right? So you don't know which value within that file, but it could be a lot of element that is equal to zero. So in that case, you need to avoid that error, all right, by uh, by using the condition. So for example, if y is different than zero, right? So you can perform the division. And else, so it means that if y is equal to zero, so you can print out the message, all right? And sometimes you face with the outbound array access, all right? So you can use a condition, to make sure uh, the index value here is always within the range of that array. All right, so in summary, for the debugging, always use printf to print the value and trace the code, right? Try to read the error message carefully because they always tell you what went wrong and where. And use a check uh, with the condition, like for example, to compare with a value in order to avoid the crash, right? And try to use a IDE debuggers, for example, with the Visual Studio Code. So it has a really good debuggers for the script. And so that we can help you to understand your program better and fix program faster. So if you face with a lot of error and you show a lot of errors, and then you are a coder with a lot of experience, right? And in C, we have a null that is a value uh, to tell you that there's nothing there, right? So it say that this is a special value that represent a null pointer, or let's say a pointer that does not point to anything, right? So so sometimes you want to check if the file, let's say, is a null or not, all right? So if the file is null, so you can prompt out a method could not open file, and then you can return it to the value one. All right. So because the null value is very useful for you to uh, to compare. All right. So for example, here, let's say if you try to allocate too much memory, all right, and the malloc function may fail and return to the null, all right, then you need to compare it to the null in order to see if everything is working properly, all right. So if it's not null, so you can continue, but if it's null, so you can stop at this point and prompt out a message, all right. So Noon is also a good way to use for your debugging, all right? Especially when you try to work with the files and when you read a file, but you don't know if the file it, uh, is good or not, right? So for this part, it's quite advanced. So I think this one I will skip it, and you try to read it at home. All right. So for this site, you have a lot of example, right? So you can rolling down to bottom of the left column, to see there is a lot of example, right? So from the very simple example, you can try to work with them, and with the real life example, right? And it also has the exercise. So exercise it means that uh, you have to do it by yourself, right? For example, with the syntax exercise, all right. What is the purpose of include stdio.h in a C program? So you can try to find an answer. Okay, and there are several questions, so you can perform it and move to the next question. For example, this one: what does the printf function do in C? All right, so you can choose the correct answer and then submit it. So by working with this exercise, you can gain uh, your understanding about the C programming. And I, I advise all of you to try to do all the example on the exercise in this side. All right, so this is a good way to practice. And you also have a quiz in here. All right, so the test here contains 25 questions, and there is no time limit. For example, all right, so you can start the C quiz over here. All right, on here you have the C compiler. All right, in order to help you to perform your script, and also have the study plan here for you to review with your knowledge about this course. All right. So I think it's finished. It's enough for today. So with this programming, any question? If you have any question, so please raise it now. Các bạn có câu hỏi nào thì cứ hỏi, tranh thủ ngay lúc này, bởi vì sau buổi này thì chúng ta sẽ không còn buổi học nào nữa, và chúng ta sẽ có những bạn nào chưa thi midterm thì các bạn tiếp tục thi midterm, và những bạn nào đã thi midterm rồi chúng ta chuẩn bị 1-2 tuần nữa chúng ta thi final.
Thầy ơi, tụi em có
Yes.
lịch là thứ bảy tuần này thi midterm, vậy thì em thấy trên email báo là tuần tuần sau cuối tuần sau là thi cuối kỳ thì là nó như vậy không thầy? Hay là tụi em thi giữa kỳ tuần này xong nó còn 2 tuần nữa mới thi?
Ờ, Thi cuối kỳ là thi chung cho tất cả ờ, sinh viên, cho nên là tuần này thi giữa kỳ, tuần sau vẫn phải thi cuối kỳ.
Em cảm ơn thầy.
Ừ. Bởi thực ra thì cái nội dung thì nó tương tự nhau. Thi giữa kỳ thì các bạn thực hành thi ngay trên máy, ngay trong giờ thực hành. Và thi cuối kỳ thì các bạn thi tập trung. Rồi nếu mà không còn câu hỏi nào nữa thì chúng ta có thể kết thúc cái buổi học hôm nay ở đây. Và chúc mọi người thi final tốt.